There is a type of intelligence they never talk about. You won't find it in classrooms. No one teaches it. But everyone fears it when they feel it. It doesn't shine. It doesn't need applause. It works in shadows, quiet, invisible, surgical. You know this type. You've seen it. The man who never raises his voice, but somehow controls the entire room. The woman who smiles politely, while pulling strings no one else sees. They don't speak often, but when they do, people listen. Not because they're loud, but because their words are weapons. This is dark intelligence. And once you understand it, you'll never see the world the same again. Because this kind of mind doesn't react. It watches. It doesn't beg. It positions. It doesn't fight. It ends things quietly. Machiavelli didn't admire intellect for its brilliance. He admired it for its danger, for its power to dominate without being seen. If you feel like you've always known you're different, not softer but sharper, this video is for you. Because once you unlock this, you'll never be ordinary again. They won't tell you this. Not in school, not in books, not in polite society. Because if people knew how dark intelligence really works, they'd fear you long before you ever lifted a finger. You don't begin by learning, you begin by noticing. At first, you're just quiet. You observe more than you speak. You listen to people long enough to hear the cracks in their stories. You smile at the jokes that aren't funny, not because you're amused, but because you're watching who's desperate for approval. You're not cold yet, but you're getting there. The world around you runs on a kind of madness. People fight over things that don't matter. They defend lies just to protect their egos. They talk loudly when they're afraid. And they pretend to be strong while falling apart inside. You're watching it all. And slowly, you start to see the code behind the chaos. It starts with one simple truth. People are predictable when they think they're safe. And that's where you slip in, silently. You learn to ask the right questions, not to get answers, but to make people reveal what they're hiding. You give them silence and let their discomfort expose them. You let their emotions write their confessions. And while they think you're harmless, you're collecting information. Quietly, completely. Dark intelligence doesn't need noise. It operates in stillness. It thrives in spaces where others feel too comfortable to guard themselves. And slowly, your mind begins to change. You no longer see people for who they pretend to be. You see utility, weakness, leverage, risk. You see the liar before they speak, the insecure before they show off, the traitor before they betray. You become 5 seconds faster than everyone else. 5 steps ahead, because your mind isn't emotional anymore. It's tactical. That's the turning point. Not when you get smarter, but when you stop being naive. You realize truth doesn't matter as much as what people believe. That trust is a tool. That most people are lying to themselves and to you. And if you can learn to control their illusions, you can control them. That's dark intelligence, not IQ, not charm, not hard work. Control, through perception. You begin to use your words like weapons, measured, intentional, never wasted. You drop truths like poison, slow, untraceable, and irreversible. You stop defending yourself. You stop explaining your decisions. You stop reacting to disrespect. Because now, you know how to make people regret it without confrontation. You're no longer playing the game by their rules. You're bending the game to fit your design. You never show your full mind. You don't share your goals. You don't let people know when they've hurt you. Because pain, in your world, is just more data. You're becoming someone else. Not cold, not cruel, strategic. This is the phase Machiavelli admired the most. the silent metamorphosis. When a person stops trying to fit into a broken world and starts reshaping it. And the best part, no one knows what you've become until it's too late. They think you're still harmless, still innocent, still just quiet. They don't realize they're already caught in your net because you've been planning this for months, maybe years. And now you don't need power. You are power. This is how dark intelligence is born. Not in a flash of genius, but in long, quiet hours of watching, understanding, and building a mind so dangerous it never needs to announce itself. Welcome to the new version of you. The version that doesn't chase anything. Because now, everything comes to you, and no one will see it coming. You've crossed the threshold. You've stopped trying to be liked. You've started listening more than you speak. And now, you're not just intelligent. You're becoming dangerous. But what does that mean? It means you've started developing traits that normal people fear, even if they can't name them. Here are the 5 core traits of the dangerously intelligent, each one silent, each one lethal. Trait 1. Emotional disconnection. The first thing they notice about you is you're calm. You don't react like they expect. You don't flinch at insults. You don't break down under pressure. Because you're no longer controlled by emotion. You've disconnected from it. You don't suppress feelings. You study them. Your anger becomes analysis. Your sadness becomes strategy. Your fear becomes foresight. You don't let your emotions choose your actions. You let them reveal the emotional weaknesses of others. While they scream and panic, you sit in silence, calculating. That silence is not emptiness. It's the sound of a mind sharpening. Trait 2. Surgical observation. You no longer look at people. You dissect them. You watch their hands when they speak, their eyes when they lie, their tone when they want something. You hear what isn't said. You feel the shift in tension when someone is hiding something. You don't need them to confess. You already know. This trait makes you unnerving. People feel seen around you, and it terrifies them. Because deep down, they know you can sense their weakness. Machiavelli once said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." You understand this. You expect betrayal. So you watch for it before it even forms. Trait 3. Controlled presence. When you enter a room, you don't need to speak to be noticed. Your presence is intentional. Your silence is louder than most people's shouting. Why? Because you're not trying to be interesting. You're trying to be unreadable. The dangerously intelligent understand the power of mystery. You reveal just enough to earn curiosity, but never enough to be predictable. People fear what they don't understand, and you give them just enough uncertainty to keep them cautious. You've learned that power doesn't come from being everywhere. It comes from being missed when you're not there. You become rare, and rarity is power. Trait 4. Strategic speech. Most people speak to fill silence. You speak to plant ideas. Every word is a move, every sentence a signal. You use pauses, tone, and questions like weapons. You don't convince, you lead people to convince themselves. You speak with surgical precision. To distract, to unsettle, to influence. You know when to compliment. You know when to say nothing. And you know that silence often has more impact than argument. This makes you dangerous, because once you open your mouth, the conversation bends in your favor, not by force, but by invisible persuasion. Trait 5. Unshakable self-reliance. The final trait is the one that breaks most people, but builds the dangerously intelligent. You no longer need anyone. You don't need praise. You don't need recognition. You don't even need to be understood, because you've become your own source of validation. And when someone has nothing left to prove, they become untouchable. People try to control others through guilt, shame, and obligation. But none of those work on you anymore. You've buried the old version of yourself, the one who begged for clarity, loyalty, or affection. Now you move like a ghost. You appear when it's strategic. You disappear when it's time to let them feel your absence. This makes you more powerful than any title or weapon, because the man who needs nothing can't be manipulated by anything. These 5 traits don't make you human in the way others expect. They make you an anomaly, a force in a world of noise, because they can't quite explain why. But you make them uneasy. That's dark intelligence, and you've only just begun. Dark intelligence means nothing if it isn't applied. Power without action is just a secret. So now, we move from observation to execution. You've developed the traits. You've sharpened the blade. Now it's time to use the weapon. Here's how you use dark intelligence. In plain sight. Every day, without ever being detected. 1. Control conversations, without dominating them. Most people speak to win. You speak to guide. Let others talk. Let them expose themselves. Your goal is not to impress. It's to extract data. Ask questions that look innocent, but slice into their mind. Why do you think that? How did that make you feel? What happened after that? These questions lower their defenses. They make people feel seen. But what you're really doing is locating leverage. Then, say just enough to shift their thinking, never enough to reveal your own. You're not in the conversation. You're controlling it from the inside. 2. Use silence as pressure. Most people can't handle silence. They rush to fill it, explain themselves, justify, apologize. But you weaponize silence. Someone tries to manipulate you? Say nothing. Let them drown in their own guilt. They expect resistance. You give them stillness. And that stillness feels like power, because it is. Pause before you speak. Look at people a moment too long. Let them feel the weight of being seen. That discomfort? That's control. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't need to. They felt your presence without sound. 3. Mirror their emotions, then redirect them. If someone's angry, match their energy. If they're insecure, act unsure. If they're proud, play humble. Then turn the mirror around. Twist their own emotions to guide them. Anger, redirect it at a third party. Insecurity, offer a false compliment that ties them to your goal. Pride, use flattery to position them where you need them. This is how manipulation works without force. You don't push people. You let them walk where you want them to go, willingly, and they'll think it was their idea. 4. Reveal your intentions. After you've won, never announce your plans. Never explain your motives. Let people misunderstand you. Let them misjudge you. Let them underestimate you. Then, when the outcome favors you, reveal the truth. Quietly, coldly. They'll realize too late. They were part of your strategy all along, and nothing haunts a person more than realizing they helped build their own defeat. That's power. That's dark intelligence at work. 5. Never use power emotionally. This is where most people fail. They get emotional. They punish to feel better. They attack to prove a point. You act with cold intention. If you remove someone, do it cleanly. No shouting, no public spectacle, no emotional debris, just a quiet exile. A door closed without warning. If someone crosses you, never react in the moment. Wait, gather, strike when it benefits you, not your ego. Because dark intelligence isn't about revenge. It's about calculated correction. Make your responses feel like the universe is correcting a mistake, not like you're holding a grudge. 6. Hide your depth. Never show your full mind. People respect intelligence, but they fear what they don't understand. So give them 60%. Just enough to seem sharp. Never enough to reveal your strategy. If they think they understand you, they'll feel safe. And when people feel safe, they get sloppy. That's when you make your moves. The smartest move. Let them think they're smarter than you. Let them walk into the trap you built with their help. You don't need a throne to rule. You don't need status to win. Dark intelligence is silent domination. The power to move people, influence outcomes, and control your environment without being seen as the source. That's what Machiavelli meant when he praised the fox over the lion. Anyone can roar, but the fox wins by knowing where to step and who to bite when no one's watching. By now, your mind isn't just sharp, it's weaponized, and they won't know it until it's too late. The most dangerous arena isn't war. It isn't politics. It's relationships. This is where most people lose themselves, where they trade logic for emotion, where they beg, explain, and surrender their power in the name of love, loyalty, or guilt. But when you operate with dark intelligence, relationships no longer become emotional traps. They become power structures, each one a battlefield where control is either claimed or lost. You begin to see the game clearly. Every conversation is a negotiation. Every compliment a possible bribe. Every silence a signal. Most people reveal their intent too early. They want to be liked. They want to be understood. So they give away their fears, their pain, their history, all in the hope of being accepted. You, however, stay quiet. Not because you're cold, because you're calculating. You let others talk first. Let them expose their patterns. Let them wrap the rope around themselves, not realizing you're handing it to them. You don't reveal your past. You don't explain your standards. You don't correct misunderstandings. Because the less they know, the less they can use. And yet, you know everything about them. They don't realize how much they're giving away when they speak. You pick up on the insecurity buried in their sarcasm, the weakness behind their confidence, the hidden motive behind their kindness. And when people try to test you, you don't resist, you vanish. Because in your world, disrespect isn't confronted, it's disqualified. You understand what most never will. Your silence is more frightening than your anger. They expect an argument. They expect an emotional reaction. But when you disappear instead, they start to reflect. They start to panic. They start to see you not as someone they control, but as someone they lost. This is the power of emotional distance. It makes you feel rare. It makes you untouchable. Soon, people begin to adjust their behavior around you, not because you demand it, but because they feel your standards without hearing them. They sense that you're different. You're not trying to be liked. You're not trying to fix them. You're not available the way others are. And that mystery, it turns into control, not through fear, not through love, but through an unspoken understanding that you are not someone they can manipulate. People learn that affection won't buy access, that loyalty without strategy means nothing, that proximity is a privilege you can revoke at any time. You don't punish with words, you punish with absence. And nothing haunts a manipulator more than being ignored by the one they couldn't control. Dark intelligence doesn't make you heartless. It makes you precise. You don't form emotional attachments by default. You choose who sees you. And even then, you never let them see all of you. This is what separates you from everyone else. They run toward validation. You run toward clarity. They offer love to avoid being alone. You offer silence to reveal their desperation. They demand answers. You offer stillness. And that stillness becomes terrifying, because it means you saw through them. and decided they weren't worth responding to. By now, you don't chase apologies. You don't argue your value. You don't repeat your expectations. You simply disappear when the energy turns false, and those left behind are forced to ask themselves why. That's when the regret begins. You never raised your voice. You never explained yourself. But your absence said everything. This is how you win power in relationships, not by controlling others, but by mastering yourself. You don't need affection. You don't need approval. You don't even need to be understood. Because you've built something far more powerful, a presence that can't be controlled, and a mind that no one dares play games with. And that is how you dominate in silence. By now, something has changed in you. You don't react like you used to. You don't explain, argue, or overextend. You've become still, but not passive. You've become quiet, but not weak. That's what dark intelligence does. It refines you into a weapon that doesn't need to be drawn. You can walk into a room and say nothing, yet every eye turns, not because of charm, not because of performance, but because you carry a presence that feels unpredictable and untouchable. You have no need to dominate, because you've already outgrown the game. People underestimate you, and that is your favorite part. You've learned to wear masks when needed, speak in layers, and leave no fingerprints behind your influence. You've become unreadable, unshakable, unstoppable. This is the final form, not a loud genius, not a public mastermind, but a ghost in the system, moving the pieces while others beg to understand the rules. You don't seek revenge. You erase people. You don't need to win arguments. You win outcomes. Because real power isn't shown, it's felt. And you've become the kind of person who doesn't need to be seen to be feared. The kind of person who doesn't chase, but attracts. Who doesn't react, but designs. Who doesn't break, but watches others collapse under the weight of your silence. You've stopped playing their game and started creating your own. That's what happens when intelligence turns cold. When observation becomes prediction. When emotion is no longer your master, but your tool. This is not about being better. It's about being smarter than the system itself. Machiavelli would say, men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. But dark intelligence gives you a third path, control without either. They don't need to love you. They don't need to fear you. They just need to know you're watching, silently, carefully, permanently. And now, if you've made it this far, you're not just curious, you're ready to stop being predictable, ready to stop being manipulated, ready to become dangerously intelligent. So here's your next move. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and step deeper into the world where power is silent and intelligence is lethal. Because this is just the beginning.